Right. So hopefully everything is okay. Right. So welcome all of you for the professional practice management, the module webinar series. So basically, so all of you are members. So we basically planned 2-3 session for the October examination professional practice module. So already the Eviana session was done by Mr. Surang Induril, and also the another one session was done by Mr. Nilendra. So the today's discussion is a continuation of the previous two discussion, and I want to highlight few important aspects for the examination of which is to be held in next week. So therefore, I expect everyone's concentration throughout the session. And also, if you have any question with regard to the professional practice module, the areas that I'm going to discuss, or even a general question from the auditing, from auditing angle where you want to clarify, so you can ask me then and there, or you can ask at the end of the session. So I will be able to answer for all of your questions, right? The first of all, to introduce myself, I'm Mipula Bandar. So I'm currently attached to the partner assurance at Preston Sri Lanka, and also I have been lecturing for the auditing as well. So I will be able to give you some value addition for the upcoming professional PPM module, the examination which will be held in the next week. Right. So basically, let me to share my presentation. Right. I hope that the screen is visible to you. So basically, my discussion is my focus today is to not to discuss the everything on professional practice management. If you look at that particular module, is a very large content, and creating a practicing chartered accountant like us. So you are going to be a practicing chartered accountant. You are going to be a partner of an audit firm in addition to becoming a chartered accountant. This is a special privilege. So therefore, there should be a special knowledge for you to handle the client services in an audit firm. So on that principles, only professional practice management module was introduced by CA Sri Lanka. Accordingly, so this particular syllabus content and what examination and what about the Viva and also the study text and other learning outcomes. And I am sure that so this is all of you are well aware by now, right? I'm not intending in discussing in those aspects because we have already two sessions by now concluded, and there was a awareness session. You can go to the particular recording in the YouTube and watch that and get an understanding. And moreover, if you look at the study text part 1 and 2, you will get an understanding, a proper understanding what's all about the professional practice management and what the syllabus coverage. And at the beginning, so I must tell you that what I'm going to do it today. So in your syllabus, I would say the first of all, we need to understand, even though you are a member, you need to understand. So this is going to be another examination. So ideally, I mean, this particular thing should have happened, in my view, it should be before the membership. Then you are in the student mind and you will write the examinations and you will get ready for the student's mind. But now you are a member, so you are preparation and you are busy with so many other commitments. So your preparation may not happen like a student before the becoming a member. But what I want to emphasize, what I want to highlight is that especially, so this is a kind of again like an examination which you face in the strategic level of last examination like SL1, SL2. This is a comprehensive auditing paper, is an advanced version of the CL1, advanced audit and assurance. I must say this is a in-depth application of CL1 advanced audit and assurance. So therefore, so that understanding you need to have. We are talking about, if you look at the auditing pillar in the CA Sri Lanka curriculum, you are mainly studying BL5 subject in the business level, basically into the basic auditing principles and internal control of the business process. Then you come to the advanced auditing paper in the corporate level. If you have done recently corporate level advanced audit and assurance, even though the word called advanced, in my understanding, it is not advanced, it is audit and assurance, where you learn all the principles and everything of the basic requirement of the external auditor. So hopefully you have finished that particular subject. So when it comes to PPM, Professional Practice Management module, it is an advanced version. How that basic principles, what you learned in the corporate level are going to be applied as a practicing chartered accountant in future. So that is the intention or the purpose of this particular module. So therefore, so you need to understand even though you are a member, you are going to face for like auditing paper in the CA curriculum. That mindset has to be set to you, right? The way you studied for the subject contents in the strategic level, the base same thing must be applied here as well. Otherwise, this is going to be like a normal examination. You will not be able to pass, right? And you have to get the 50 marks. So when you look at this content, as far as the content is concerned of this particular module, it's all about what I do and what we do at the audit firm. So as a practicing member, what I do at the audit firm is practically given in a booklet. That's it. So then if you are facing an examination, you have to think like you are a member of the practicing audit firm. So that mindset has to be set before doing anything, right? If you look at the pilot paper, if you look at the April paper, it's all about the application knowledge of advanced auditing principles, right? So therefore, if anyone who is going to face the examination in October, if you try to study the theory through the study text, if you try to learn the theory, so you will be able to get the maximum number of marks is 25. But if you want to get the rest of the 25, so you need to have a comprehensive knowledge about how these principles can be applied in a live example. So that is the mindset that we want to set, right? It's very much important. The number one, which I want to highlight is, so you are going to face the examination in the next week. Your mindset should be, it's not the memorizing, it's not that some kind of a theory again, memorizing or reproducing. At the examination paper, this is all about how you think as a partner of an audit firm. So that mindset, that thinking pattern has to coming into the paper. So when you are going to write the examination questions in the next week, so you have to think like you are a partner of an audit firm and answer all the questions. Then, so there is a chance of that you will come to the correct conclusion for the given scenario, right? That is the number one most important message that I want to plant in your mind in terms of the exam. So you have to think like, even though you are a member, you have to think like a student is number one. And number two, you have to think like a partner of a practicing audit firm and think about much broader view. Sometime when what you feel, sometimes you have learned the CL1 advanced auditing principles, the assertion, you would have learned the risk assessment, or you would have learned the quality management or ethics or whatever. But I must say that from there's a 50% untold part which is embedded in the PPM module. That 50% no one can teach you. That 50% is application. How are you going to think in the practical circumstances? So therefore, the mind change is very much crucial for the moment, right? So I hope that everyone who is going to face the exam, so set the mind from today that you are a practicing chartered accountant. I'm going to think, and there is a untold part of each and every question, and there is a unexplained area which I don't feel at the examination question. So that mindset has to be set press. Otherwise, when you go for the examination, whatever comes to your mind or whatever the conclusion that you reach, if you write it, that may not be the correct answer. If you have when you are studying the previous auditing subject, I might have told some time. So the one principle called that the immediate answer that comes to your mind may not be the correct answer in the advanced auditing principles, right? So that is one of the conclusion, one of the tagline that I used for why. In order for the everyone who is facing or studying auditing to think beyond the boxes, beyond the boundaries. Beyond the boundaries thinking is important. So then if you think beyond the boundaries, if you think beyond the boxes, so of course you will be able to come closer to the examiner's answer. It's not really required to be in line with the 100% of the examiner's answer. It's all about you are getting closer to the examiner's answer and how far you justify using the basic auditing principles and how far you convince the examiner from the point that you have, right? So that is the initial background thought that I want to plant in your mind, right? Okay, so now, so basically, so the syllabus content, and I'm not going to touch these three area because the Mr. Nilendra covered this particular part B and C. So of how we should approach, and my focus today is to cover part D and E much wider in terms of the audit firm application. So therefore, of course, I mean, if you want to learn, if I want to teach you this particular areas from one to one, and it's all about a 50 hours. But today within 2 hours, I'll try to give you some salient features, right? Salient applications in terms of the pre-scene already issued by Sri Lanka, how far we can get certain important points, and then how can I explain into that one. Of course, if you have any questions throughout the discussion of these areas, so I will be able to explain you, right? So now, as far as your exam is concerned, so basically you are aware in your examination paper. Let me to go to your paper. Yes, this is the April paper. I hope that every one of you have this April paper. So if you go to this particular April paper, you know that the paper, how paper is coming. I'm not going to repeat and waste the time on that. So basically question number 1 is a case study. It's like you can have any name, but it is something a normal case scenario given in a strategic level examination. So there's a scenario given, them some questions have been tested. So purely, I would say it is not much wider practical application, but it's purely your theoretical knowledge. If somebody is not sound in the theory, it's difficult, right? So because you have to have the theoretical knowledge, then only you can go for the application. Because this is, even though we have ethics module, we have English courses, IT courses before you becoming a chartered accountant, but this course is not like that. This is a comprehensive examination. So therefore, this 30 marks case study is not that I would say it's a normal examination question, where if you want to write this particular question of question number 1, the scenario has been given, and that scenario, so you will have a straightforward questions. It's not difficult, right? Anybody can write. So outline 4 key points, to be included in the engagement letter sent by audit results. So, right, anybody can write. It's not, PPM module is also not that difficult when it comes to this particular area. And also I say, evaluate the risk of material misstatement, including the significant risk that should be considered when developing the audit plan of ABP. If you know the fundamental basics of auditing, so you can write easily this question. And also the outline 6 audit procedures to address the risk of material misstatement considered in C above. So it's a kind of a similar question what you learned in corporate level examination. And if somebody is weak on this basic auditing, you have about 1.5 weeks to go. So you can go to the Sri Lanka webinars. There are some webinars conducted by myself as well as Mr. Indunil. So in terms of these theoretical principles, for an example, audit risk assessment, you can go to, and there is a separate video which I have done at Sri Lanka webinars, where you give not a very comprehensive knowledge, but foundation. But foundation should be good to answer this 30-mark question. So therefore, especially audit risk assessment, engagement, starting from engagement letter and the audit risk assessment and the audit procedures. So three are going to be mainly tested in the, I would say, including the professional background in the 30-mark question. So still you have not watched those videos in terms of the risk assessment and the audit procedures, please watch that. So you will get a basic understanding. In my view, so that understanding sometime enough for you to, if you have a wider thinking ability, so this in order to get this 30 mark, right? So it's a case study question of 30 mark. And basically, I'm not going to focus today on this 30 mark part, because that is part A, B, C. Right. So then when it comes to the unseen case study and Surya PLC, it's the same pre-seen what was issued for the April examination is going to be applied for your exam as well. So, and I will give you some confidence and I will give you some strategies in terms of the 70-mark question, how you want to apply, right? So basically, it's all about your confidence, right? Because when you see this scenario, right? Now I have the printout of this unseen, the pre-seen as well. And otherwise, I have the soft copy also, right? This is the pre-seen, right? See, when it comes to this 70 marks, it's all about, basically, it's all about, or anyone testing, auditing questions of any examination paper in the world, there are 5 areas of examiner's focus, right? Any examination. You look at the ACCO, ICW, CP Australia, whatever the exam, right? The number 1, audit risk assessment, where when the scenario is given for you are supposed to identify the business risk and related audit risk, right? That is number 1, I would say, audit risk assessment, right? 1 second. Right. Number 1 is audit risk assessment. right? So this is where basically not a very comprehensive, that is a scenario given for you to feel that, okay, what do you mean audit risk? So don't think on a very big notes if you are not experienced. Audit risk mean what? The possibility of something can go wrong in the financial statement. That's it. So now say, for an example, let's say now the sudden import restriction in Sri Lanka. So that particular event is a risk for the business. So that in turns impact to the financial statement for one of the line item, maybe inventory, debtors, creditors, or whatever. So you have to think in that angles. Therefore, audit risk assessment is not a difficult area. And the number two is the audit procedures, right? Audit procedures. This is a very large, comprehensive area where audit procedures you would have already experienced in the audit firm where you work. So it's a very large area. If you start from the SLAUS 502, SLS 620, about the 13 auditing standards are covering about this audit procedures. But you will carry the now open book referral materials. You will carry the all open books for the examination hall. But believe me, uh, you can't use that at the exam, right? So it's, you will not have a time to apply the look at the books and write at the examination. But sometimes special cases like corporate governance or special cases like maybe under quality management or the audit reporting sometimes may be useful as well. So therefore you take the books to the examination hall. So but what I'm trying to say is the audit procedures is how far you can think, right? For an example, say today in my audit, say somebody comes and say, there is an investment property, that's investment property. So that company has a land in near golf face. That 10 purchase land, it has been categorized as an investment property. So what the audit procedure I should do? Where those audit procedures are listed? Can you look at from the standard? It's difficult. Standard gives you the basic guideline, but the audit procedures is how far you can develop procedure to gather sufficient and appropriate audit evidences for the given scenario. Right? For that, what you need to have is not a comprehensive knowledge with knowledge about the comprehensive knowledge of the remembering of the auditing standard. But what you need is basically when the scenario is given, open-minded thinking, because all of you are a chartered accountant, right? So now, of course, you have become a chartered accountant because of you have that ability of thinking and you have that intellectual level that is expected, intelligent level expected by CA Sri Lanka. So therefore, only lacking will be you are not forced to think in your mind. Say now there is a land in the innocent property in the near golf face. What are the audit procedures to be given? Can you look at the standard book and write? No. Say there is now new government has been appointed, and because of that the policy changes, so one business has been impacted and it is considered as event after the reporting date. So what the audit procedures you are going to do is not in the auditing standard, right? You have to take into your system this. When you are writing the examination question at the exam hall, it has to be taken into your system. You have to think that you get absorbed into the question. I live with this question. I try to live in this question in always that. So then what happens? So automatically answers will automatically will come to your mind. So that will be the most appropriate method if you want to pass an examination. So as far as these audit procedures are concerned, actually, you can watch the separate webinar I have done for corporate level CA that about 2 hours if you have a time. So there I give a 4-page short note, right? The 4-page short note is basically for you to remind you what key procedures, inventory, what key procedures, debtors, what key audit procedures, or say related parties, what key audit procedures, creditors, what key audit procedures. So you should aware about the key audit procedures. That's it. Then with that knowledge, when the scenario is given, you have to think what the key audit procedure, whether can be applied. Oh, can I think and write something? Can I think and write something? So there is a subsidiary in Bangladesh. That subsidiary, when our parent company is in Sri Lanka, now Bangladesh has a crisis. So in Bangladesh, company has some labor issues or something is there. So there is a going concern issue in the subsidiary company. How can I audit that? Can you look at the standard and write? No, you have to have a. So some of you, there are members here who are going to do the exam in the next week, or there can be some members who are doing the examination in future. So what I want to highlight you is that in terms of audit procedures, what matters is it's setting your mind, having set the basic audit procedure knowledge. So how far you can develop and justify the audit procedures to address the given circumstances. Right. So that's a very largest area, and probably maybe 30-40% of the marks will be allocated for audit procedures. So if you are weak in the audit procedure basics, and if you feel that you are not confident in audit procedures, you of course can watch that webinar in the Sri Lanka YouTube channel. So you will get a confidence is matters in the audit procedures. So in doing that, right? So it's the most important. The next one is the audit reporting, which I'm going to discuss today with you all in a summarized way. Audit reporting. And then the next one is the audit. After audit reporting, the assurance and related engagements. Assurance and related engagements. So basically, there are a lot of the non-assurance, assurance, non-assurance related engagement, which you need to have a very clear picture in terms of that. So that is the next one. And also the next one is we call both together. One is audit quality management and other one ethics. So these are the five main areas which any examiner in the world in terms of paper setting of the auditing will be covering. All right. Why I'm telling from the practical experience in the practical world also we are looking at these five. So if I want to run now, I'm working as a partner. So if you want to run our audit firm, what we do, we basically concentrate on these five areas. Right. So therefore, your examiner also will focus on these five areas. So if you look at this past paper, if you look at this, analyze this past paper also basically coming into these five areas, right? So my today's intention is have a quick review on these three areas with your Surya PLC, the pre-scene. And these two, of course, already Mr. Nilendra has already done. So I want to cover up these three. But what I want to highlight is have a broader picture. When you have a broader picture, when you go for the examination, it is much easier. Rather, you go by section, you read the study text, you try to understand each and every principle, you practice all revision kit questions, and you write all past papers and you go for the examination. Unless otherwise, you have this broader view of the subject, broader view of the how practicing chartered accountant think in a practical circumstances. Believe me, so you will not be able to pass the exam. Right. So in the first half an hour, I try to put that foundation, giving a strong confidence to you in terms of how this broader picture can be developed in your mind, right? How broader view or broader thinking can be how broader thinking can be planted in your mind, right? So I hope that you are clear. And in terms of your examination, the Surya PLC and pre-scene has already been issued by Sri Lanka. So this is the pre-scene. But in my understanding, right, as far as these two areas are concerned, yes, pre-scene is connected. Right, especially audit risk assessment, pre-scene is connected. All the risk areas you have to identify and go before the examination. The draft finance statements have been given, and also there are specific scenarios have been given. So you have to study that and go. But as far as these three sections are concerned, audit reporting or the assurance and related engagement or the audit quality and ethics are concerned, remember, so these three, there are no adequate information given in the pre-scene for you to analyze and get ready and go for the examination. It's definitely going to be, there will be a unseen information given for you to come to a conclusion. So therefore, as far as these three segments are concerned for your examination during the next 1 week, what I want to highlight is rather focusing too much on the pre-scene, so you can focus on the refreshing your theoretical knowledge of audit reporting, assurance, and the quality and ethics. Because why? Because so the pre-scene cannot be actually not, I won't say 100% not connected, but difficult to connect. Because if the issue is given in the pre-scene, you can go with the conclusion to the examination itself, therefore issue will not be given. So for an example, I will show you in the April paper. So this particular part 1 is from the corporate governance and part 2 from the services of combined services. And this is from the audit procedures part 3, right? Audit procedures and how audit conclusions are made. Part 3, right? Part 3, if you look at audit reporting. Nothing connected with the pre-scene. So that means if you know the theory, you can write. If you don't know the theory, you cannot write. See how simple. So then part 3 basically it's about the proposed about the key audit matters, and it's basically not connected with the pre-scene. So part 3 for audit reporting is very difficult to connect with the pre-scene, and if you read the pre-scene, there are no much information with regard to the audit conclusions. And also then I coming into the part 4, it's from the audit quality management. Is one of the important and the recent change that occurred recently. So as you are aware, Sri Lanka Standard on Quality Management 1 and 2, ISQM 1 and 2 is now in Sri Lanka in effective. And actually I'm also engaging in the implementing in our firm. So we have now done the initial implementation because it's going to be effective. It's a postponed effective date and probably will be effective shortly. So, and there is a story beyond what you think in the theory. Even your study text is not the updated SLS QM1 and 2 is there according to my studies in terms of your study text. So therefore, you have to have some understanding with regard to the audit quality management 1 and 2, how that new principles of audit quality management are going to be applied in a practical audit firm, in a mid-size audit firm in Sri Lanka. Right. Of course, big 3 or a big 4 in Sri Lanka. So they will not have a much challenge in adapting this audit quality management and all, because so they are anyway internationally connected. And so already they are implementing certain principles in advance, because ISQM 1 and 2 was effective in globally in 2022. So therefore, but mid-size audit firm also some are connected to the global network. So they also like our firm. So we are also connected to the internationally, and we are also have implemented that. But when it comes to the next level audit firms, it's purely disconnect. So therefore, examiner may touch upon that for a middle level or a lower level of audit firm, how these challenges of implementing ISQM 1 and 2 are going to be addressed. So therefore, that can be the examination question this time. So let me to take in detail when I coming into that section, right? So that question part 4 from that, right? For 10 marks, see 10 marks. And then the last one is from ethics, ethical issues, ethical dilemma, ethical issues. So that is not going to be, I don't think it's going to be difficult. So this is the paper structure and how it comes. And so this is how you need to be aware. But one more thing to be added there. When you go for the examination, you may know about all this theoretical knowledge of the study text given here. So study text, so if you see the study text, right, 2 study texts are there, big books, that reading itself will take very long a time. But if you see this, right, you can look at, read, and go for the exam. But unfortunate part is what? Unfortunate part is that you cannot produce that knowledge into the level that is expected by Sri Lanka examiner. Say for an example, say in this particular quality management question in the April paper, right, what it says is, advise the audit partner the approach he should follow when dealing with this ethical dilemma with reference to the applicable ethical framework. If you want to write this particular question, you need to have a comprehensive knowledge about the, right, about the, what is this ethical dilemma in the given scenario, and what are the available ethical framework from the theory. See, scenario ethical dilemma from the theory of ethical framework which are connected to the scenario. So say you identify the ethical dilemma, you identify the ethical framework, you can remember, but still there is a possibility that you will not get the 10 marks because of why? So your writing weaknesses, right? You don't understand or you don't look at the action verb given here. Advise, advise. If you don't look at this action verb for and the number of marks, I hope that the strategies that we adapted in the corporate strategic levels, you can still remember. I believe that even though you are a member now, so hope you can remember those techniques. So advice for a 10 marks, right? Some of you may write about maybe 5 points. Some of you may write about the 2-3 pages. Sometime the member who is writing for 2-3 pages will waste their time and will not be able to they manage the time in during the 4 hours, right? And some of you maybe writing in a short form. See, there is ethical issue. That ethical issue has a self-interest rate. So this will create some conflict of interest. So therefore, it must be shorted out. 0 marks. Zero. Why? So your expectation at the professional practice module is a next level. So you cannot write that kind of an answer like where you did in corporate level or a business level. So you are a member now. So you have to write to analyze the scenario. So write and analyze in small paragraph level. It's not in very comprehensive detailed writing, but in a good writing has to have with a given time, given limited time, right? So therefore, remember three things: action verb, need to remember; number of marks, need to remember, and also set in the mind that what is the time allocation. So 10 marks mean what is the time allocation? 10 into, we can multiply in the 4 hours and say about maximum 15 to 20 minutes. All right. So then within that you have to write it. So, but before you write it, you have to organize the question. You have to read the question and identify the answer and organize the answer during the 10 minutes time and balance 5 minutes only you can write it. So these techniques of examination techniques that you learn will have to be applied again. If not, what happens is, so you will not be able to score the 50 marks, right? So unfortunately, when we discussed with the examination division and I got the feedback from education division, where the pass rate is very low in terms of the PPM module because adequate knowledge is not there, right? So therefore they will not tolerate. So you have to write into the level that they expect, and basic techniques of action verb, basic techniques of number of marks, basic techniques of organizing the answer, basic techniques of delivering a high quality writing where the handwriting should be able to read it, right? Some of your handwriting also very beautiful. We can read it properly. So, but relook at that, but it's not need to be a very beautiful and very good handwriting, but it should be able to read and understand by a third party person without your presence. So that mindset has to be there. And if your handwriting is not good, so what you want to do is you write in a big letters. So then what happens is paper marker who is going to be anyway are a chartered accountant who is in a practice, so he will be able to understand what you are trying to say, right? And if they can't understand what happened, even though you have given the correct answer, you will not be able to get the marks, right? So that is my overall instructions with regard to the paper and with regard to the areas that I'm going to discuss, right? So do you have any questions before I moving into the today's discussion further? If you have any questions, we can discuss now. Any question? No questions. Right. So since there are no questions, okay, so I hope that you understood what the overall guidelines, the instruction that I gave with regard to the PPM. Of course, you need to understand that we will not be able to cover up this entire things within 2 hours or 4 hours, but we will try to give whatever we can give in terms of the advanced auditing knowledge as well as the practicing experience knowledge. So how far I can share my knowledge during this short period of time. But of course, if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer. Right. So since there are no questions, so let me then go to the presentation of further. Uh, Right. Basically, of course, this part D, E, and areas only I'm going to focus. Right. But before that, I just want to highlight few things about the with regard to the recent changes that I hope that you are aware, and you will have a scaredness of these changes, whether these changes will be applied in your examination. Because one of the point that the Sri Lanka examination division also highlighted that the members, so the word coming student, but you are not students, the they are not aware about the recent changes. So of course, you may not be aware because you would have done the examination some time ago and you may not be in the practicing world. And so therefore, it's our duty because we are in the practicing module, practicing as well as in the lecturing. So I will give you, I'll go to that particular slide quickly. Right, right. So these changes are applicable for PPM as well, right? Professional practice management module as well, right? So these are the only changes. Don't worry about anything else. If you have any question, you ask me, I will clarify now. Now this letter issued by Sri Lanka for the ZL1 advanced audit and assurance, but same are applicable for practicing PPM as well. These are the recent changes, right? What are the changes? So under the assurance and related services, so Sri Lanka standard on related services 4,400, right? 4,400. So this was changed, right? And the proposed change is what? The Sri Lanka standard on related services 4,400 will be applicable. But as far as your examination is concerned, I'm telling you positively, it's not a very drastic change. It's all about the how the reporting format and how we are looking at the agreed upon procedures. Engagements are only changed. So therefore, it will not have a material impact for your studies or your anything. If you are missed to learn this, if you are missed to study the revised standard, because I am not very sure of the your study text updated with these changes. So if I'm missed, if I'm missed, if I so if I'm not correct, the Augusta can correct it that. So I'm not very sure about that, but I believe that changes are not updated up to now. So this change but will be applicable for the exam, but don't worry for the exam. So it's a broader level change which will not specifically applicable for the exam. Then the key change is what? The earlier we had the Sri Lanka Standard on Quality Management 1. Now SLS QM1 and 2, IAS QM1 2. So it's a complete change. Earlier we had a quality control. Now we are talking about the quality management. Earlier we had a 5 or 6 basic principles. Now we have 8 principles. So likewise, this is a comprehensive change, a complete change. If you have not learned the Sri Lanka Standard on Quality Management 1 and 2, please, you have to study before the examination. That is mandatory, right? So in terms of studying that, I don't think that is updated in the study text. And you have of course, for that particular segment, there is no separate webinar available even at the other levels. But what you can do is the CA Sri Lanka has issued application, I would say the appendix kind of a document for this SLS QM14 for CL1 advanced auditing students that is available in the Sri Lanka website. You can refer that, or if not, I have a separate note prepared for audit quality management. So that particular note, this kind of a note I have that I can share with you for if you are not studied up to now, I can give it to Ms. Augusta to share with you for those who are doing the examination now. Right. So that is, but what I'm telling is it's about a significant change that you should aware. So again, I'm telling even April 2024 examination paper positively mentioned. You can see here, right? Positively mentioned. Your answer should be based on Sri Lanka Standard on Quality Management 1 and so therefore, you don't have a chance of escaping that 10 marks. Right. Then 220 actually this goes together. This goes together 220 also coming from the audit quality management in terms of the auditing. So SLS QM1 and 2 applicable as a firm as a whole, but 220 is applicable only for audit engagement, but more or less same. If you learn the SLS QM1 and 2, I mean it's already covered this one. Right. Then 315 standard was revised and the thinking pattern of the risk assessment was changed in 2000. This was happened in 2000, not recently, 2020 or 21 only this change happened. But that also will not have that will have a minimum impact. And the thinking pattern has now changed when assessing the risk of the audit of financial statement, but that will not have a material impact for your studies or your examination. And of course, now this of course 2023. So 2023 Code of Ethics of 2023 is now applicable. As far as the 2023 Code of Ethics is concerned, from 2020, from 2020 to 2023 Code of Ethics, there are no much changes. Even though Code of Ethics from 2016 to 20, there were drastic changes in terms of certain regulation, like certain number of years, like familiarity threat and all that, there was changes. But from 2020 to 2023, there were no changes insignificantly, right? Other than very few changes. One is that initially we are talking about the questioning mind, and also there are some independence requirement for a non-assurance services. These are the two main changes from 2020 to 2023, but they are again, I would say, moderate impact for your exam. So there you may have to have a quick look at on the changes applicable for a independence requirement of non-assurance engagement. So that's all, right? And that also, if I'm not mistaken, the Sri Lanka one small 2 or 3 pages document was uploaded to the website in terms of code of ethics changes for those auditing students, those who are doing the corporate level, so that you can get and refer. And in terms of that, so now as far as the recent changes are concerned, so keep in your mind, keep the confident that so what you want to have the knowledge comprehensive is the Sri Lanka standard on quality management 1 and 2, right? Okay, so that's the changes, right? Okay, so now as far as these particular areas are concerned, so evaluating evidence and the reporting and professional practice management and ethics, of these two areas, basically you have 4 things, right? So you have the audit reporting, you have the assurance and related services, you have audit quality management, and you have a code of ethics, right? Remember, so there will be a definite 30 to 40 or a 40 to 50 marks, right? I would say 30 to 40 marks. I would say 40 from these 4 areas. So therefore, and also I believe that scoring from these 4 areas is much easier than wasting too much of time under the risk assessment authority procedures, because those are very much wide areas. So therefore, so you can concentrate quickly audit reporting, assurance services, audit quality management, and code of ethics, which are applicable standard I have given here. But from out of that also, now I will go one by one, and because studying everything is now very large, but at least for you to explain what the examinable points, examinable section that you should aware. Right. Okay. So I hope that you are not bored. Huh? Right. Now, as far as the audit reporting is concerned, if you go to your pre-scene, right, because definitely this your audit reporting question will come from the pre-scene, because that's 70-mark question, definitely. So pre-scene, no unseen. In this pre-scene, they are giving information about the Surya PLC and their business, their shareholder structure, and also with regard to the shareholders and investment of foreign investment, board of directors, and then with regard to the details of the board of directors for corporate governance, senior management, and risk management part of the Surya PLC, and internal audit of Surya, marketing and sales of Surya, and also information technology of Surya, and the relevant recent development, finance function of Surya, and Surya stock market performance, and D&B associate. Only one paragraph is here, right? It's all only about the audit firm. Only one paragraph is there, right? And then if you go to the other one, then you have the annexures with regard to the financial performance of the company. You evaluate yourself and tell me now, are there any information that you can use for your from the pre-scene to the audit reporting? Answer is 0.011. Why? Only you can use the material level. So you have to calculate the material level from the pre-scene. Now itself materiality level you have to calculate. Other than that, overall material level, performance material level, clearly trivial, that all 3 levels you have to calculate and get ready for the exam. Other than that, audit reporting, it has to be purely from the unseen information that is going to be given, right? So if it is unseen, examiner has to test what? Systematic learning. Even though you are a member, you have to learn now systematically and Otherwise, systematic application not there. I mean, in a wider subject like auditing is going to have a messed. Okay. So systematically, if you look at it, so of course, this is going to be a theoretical knowledge testing. So if it is a theoretical knowledge testing, the examiner has to give the unseen information. There is a scenario given. For that scenario, what the audit report implication? Very simple. Right? Okay. So on that background, if you look at the key or key areas on audit reporting, what you want to look at it. So I'm not going to memorize your theory, but I'm going to tell you and I'm going to give you a confidence that what you need to focus before the examination, right? As far as the audit reporting section is concerned, as you are aware, we basically have a few important auditing standards. What are those standards? Of course, you are aware the 700 standard is SLA US. 700 standard is giving what? It's about the audit report format. It's not important for you all. Because your plus point is you are able to take the study text also to the examination hall. But then again, SLA US 701 is very much important as far as your exam is concerned for a key audit matters. And SLA US 705, and with regard to the audit modifications, and also the 706 with regard to the emphasis of matter and other matter, and 720 with regard to the other information. These are like a crucial standard which you should aware, right? So as far as the uh, audit reporting is concerned, for me, of course, have three things, right? So you need to have first of all, you need to look at an annual report. Maybe John Keel's or any annual report, Atkins Spence or any annual report that you like. Look at that annual report and the format of the audit report. It has to be saved in your mind. Thereafter, you have to think about these principles. When you think about the principles, the important word is modifications, right? Modifications. When you're talking about the modification, it can be a modification to an opinion, or it can be a modification, not a modification to the opinion, but other part of the reports are going to be changed. So this classification like should be in your mind. Modification to opinion, modification to the report. Here is modification to the report, right? So when you're talking about the modification to the opinion, of course, in the examination, you cannot go in this order. Huh? You have to come the backward at the exam. Scenario is given. From the scenario, is this a misstatement? Is this a misstatement? Is this a scope limitation? That decision has to be made, right? And if it is a misstatement, it is only material, then the qualified opinion. If it is material and if it is a misstatement, material and pervasive, so it will directly go to the adverse opinion. If it is scope limitation, if it is material, it will be a qualified opinion. If it is scope limitation and material and pervasive, it will be disclaimer of opinion. So it's like in a different mind, it has to be there. And if not, you will struggle at the exam. It has to be very clear systematically in your mind, right? And then again, when you look at the additional paragraph, okay, this is about the modification to the opinion. But modification to the opinion will come only in the situation where there is a misstatement or a scope limitation. But say there is a scenario given at the examination hall, That scenario should generally, if you have learned auditing previously with me, so you would have applied a 5-step model, right? It's very important. 5-step model. When the scenario is given at the examination with regard to the audit reporting, you have to apply this 5-step model, then you won't go wrong. Not there in the standard, but what I am telling to you, right? What is number one? The number one crucial point is that you have to see whether a given scenario creates a misstatement or a scope limitation. Misstatement means deviation from a financial statement, deviation from an accounting standard requirement, and the scope limitation means that you are not allowed or you are not able to gather the required sufficient and appropriate evidence. The scope, your scope is limited. So that judgment has to be made systematically. Number one, you have to see whether it's a misstatement or a scope limitation. If yes, that is number one step, right? Number one. You can note down if you want, right? Number one. And number two, then if yes, if no, there are two answers. If yes, if no. If yes, of course, then you have to see whether this is a misstatement or a scope limitation. If it is a misstatement, you have to see whether it is a material and pervasive, or a scope limitation material or material pervasive. That decision has to be made. If no, then you come to the if no. Yes, if yes, then if you go to the if no, you have to go and see whether it's something which require the attention of the shareholders, because audit report we are basically giving to whom? To shareholders. Whether kind of an attention is required for the shareholders will have to be seen. Right. So in that case, you fundamentally think of two principles on emphasis of matter and other matter. So emphasis of matter, basically we talk about what? The emphasis of matter we talk about basically on what? It's all about the something which is presented to the financial statement. So which is presented in the financial statement, something presented in the financial statement, right? And also fundamental for the user understanding. Two conditions: fundamental for the user understanding and already presented in the financial statement. Then kind of say there is a legal case against the company and that has been disclosed as a contingent liability and it's a severe case. So of course it is a disclose something in the finance statement fundamental to the user understanding. So it becomes a emphasis of matter. Clear? Right. So what talk about the other matter? Other matter is something that our communication to the shareholders. So what, as far as the auditor is concerned, with regard to the auditor's objective or the scope and the responsibility, or if I want to communicate something regard to about me, but if I want to tell something about me and my audit or my scope, right, my objective, so with regard to me, if I want to communicate something, that is called other matter has to coming in, right? So this 5-step model, which is very much crucial in your making decision in this diagram. And so thereafter, having applied the 5-step model, thereafter you need to have a good understanding, right? Good understanding between the, so this kind of a modification and the key audit matter, very crucial. What do you mean by key audit matter? The simple way of explaining the key audit matter is what? So those days key audit matters were not there in 2018 of the introducing of new ISA. So key audit matters came into the effect. So what do you mean by key audit matter? So key audit matter, rather understanding the theoretical way, understand in a much practical, broader view. So key audit matters mean when the PLC audit is done by, say, general audit is done by an auditor, it is communicated directly to the shareholder, no material misstatement in the finance statement. But the shareholder gets just a conclusion, but shareholder doesn't see any other information with regard to the audit. So this requirement of the educating the shareholder and giving much wide information requirement has arisen throughout the period, and therefore internationally it was changed that to highlight to the stakeholder some of key matters, right? Some of the key matters addressed during the audit, some of the key matters addressed during the audit, but positively concluded. Now, when there are key matters, if that matter is an error or the misstatement or scope limitation, you are reporting under the separately under the modification. But if something key audit matter has been positively concluded, we come to a conclusion that there are no material misstatement, no scope limitation. So then, but still, auditor believes that even though we have concluded this in a positive manner, we believe that it is better to bring to the attention of the stakeholder, shareholder, right? Attention in the sense it's like highlighting to the shareholder. So this was a key audit matter. This is how we concluded. It's like a positive assurance. You can't use the wording of positive assurance, but what I'm telling you the positive assurance for to make you understand, it's like a positive conclusion. So there was an issue, but we concluded properly. So that is the meaning of key audit matters. Basically, key audit matters is that something which is auditor is the one who is deciding what should be the key audit matter, but out of the matters in the current year audit, not the previous year audit, current year audit, and which is most significant. What is the wording? Which is most significant in the current year audit out of the matters which were communicated to the those charged with governance, which auditor decide. Now say I'm a partner for some of the PLCs. So Key audit matters are decided by myself and my team, and they decide certain point, and final ultimate decision is made by me. Because why? It's a professional judgment has to be made by the partner finally. So therefore, when you so Sri Lanka examiner expect from you to make that judgment. Now, for an example, in April paper, if you go, right, April paper I will go. So this kind of a question is there, whether can this be a key audit matter or not. See, propose the changes or the addition required to the KAMs included in the audit report and the finance statement of Surya and group for the year ended 31st March 2024, about 8 marks. So if you don't know, it's going to be the end of the story. Because if you have to very clearly should know what's meant by key audit matters. Right? So now key audit matters and audit modifications, you have some idea, right? Because audit modification is a kind of a negative and key audit matter is something positive. So which are selected out of main three things, right? Significant risk identified during the audit and significant management judgments and the significant events. So these are like, it has to be saved in the mind. Now I'm telling you without looking at any book or anything. So you also need to have that level before going for the examination. So these out of these three things, so an auditor decide based on the current year requirement, current year audit matters reported to the those charged with governance, what would be the most significant. Say there are 10 points. If I'm the audit partner, my judgment may differ from another partner. It may be there, but what matters is how far you can justify. Say 1 point will be significant for you and another, it will not be significant for someone's based on the judgment, but it has to be justified. Right. So I hope that you got an understanding properly with regard to the key audit matters and the deciding audit modification. Now, this is what all of you will go on generally. So that is what I want to highlight. Even this particular examination, Surya PLC of Presin, also there are some indications with regard to the going concern. Right. One of the hot topic of the going concern is auditing industry. So if you look at this Surya PLC Presin, there are a lot of indications with regard to the going concern. So if I show you the company is making losses, right? The company group has made a losses of 759 million. That itself, right? That itself an indication revenue has come down and GP has come down. So these kind of indications are there with regard to the going concern. And if you look at the even still the return earning, of course, okay, come down, but not become negative. And if you look at the trade debtors have gone up, inventories have gone up. So that means working capital difficulties are there. Cash and equal balance has come down. It's like there are a lot of working capital issues of the company, loss-making company, and there are some investment made in the foreign country. Likewise, there are some difficulties faced by the Surya PLC. So that indicate what? Indicates some uncertainties with regard to the going concern. So uncertainties with regard to the going concern. So when there are uncertainties with regard to the ability to continue in the business for a foreseeable future, if you look at the definition back in the going concern, what is that? Whether the company will be able to continue for a foreseeable future, right? A significant issue. So that is we call going concern indications. Right, when there are uncertainties with regard to the ability to continue for more than 12 months of the business. So however the auditor is going to address the point under the SLA US 570 is going to be a crucial, and also there is a better chance, there is a, I would say, more chance for the examiner to test this. Right. So therefore, you need to have a good knowledge about the 570 standard. If you have not studied the 570 up to now, so I'm requesting 570 to be studied in detail. And if you don't have a time before the examination, I told you again, there's a webinar which was conducted by myself for the corporate level students. You can just go to the Sri Lanka YouTube channel and watch it and get an understanding with regard to the going concern basic principles. If you don't have the basic principles of the going concern, believe me, they are going to be 8 to 10 marks in the examination. Any auditing paper, whoever studied the auditing paper in the world, so they always touch the going concern. Show me any auditing paper in the world without going concern question. That is the reality. Right. Okay. So now I'm going to go for a bit of a high technical matter. I hope that before the examination you have now already studied, but I know that most of you will have a technical gap in understanding this, right? The difference between the key audit matter, going concern, qualification, modification, disclaimer, and all that, right? So you need to have good understanding, right? First of all, remember, going concern related audit reporting requirement is excluded from this diagram. That must be remembered with you. If there is a going concern issue in the company, it is not connected to this particular diagram. That's the serious matter that you want to have. So if there is a going concern situation of the company, it is basically excluded from the key audit matters, but there is another part where it can become a key audit matter. It doesn't mean that the going concern cannot rule out from the key audit matter. So there is a situation that the key audit matter will come, going concern can come as a key audit matter, but I will tell you that in later. For the moment, remember, so the entire picture, entire broader view that, so the going concern requirement, the reporting requirements are excluded from the normal reporting requirement. Clear? Systematic learning. Right. Okay. So now then if it is excluded, so then what is the requirement for the going concern? So this must be remembered, and you just go highlight and carry to the examination of this is given under the 570 standard in the standard book, which is available in the study text as well. And this is going to be so important. So if there are any uncertainties with regard to the ability to continue in the business for a foreseeable future. So that means if we have a doubt about that the company will not be able to continue for more than 12 months of the business. So we have a doubt about the going concern. If such a doubt is there, what we do? So basically we request the management the initial assessment of with regard to the going concern, and based on the initial assessment, auditor also carries out the initial assessment, evaluating the initial assessment. Then we go for a detailed going concern assumption. You request from the management if you have basically identified the going concern issue at the early level in the initial assessment. So you will request a detailed assessment, and you will request the detailed assessment mean what? So the management should prove, even though these problems are there, we can be in the business. So they have to prepare the budgeted financial statement, forecasted financial statement, right? And they have to get the mitigating factors on what basis they believe that the company can continue, what are the resources available, what are the predicted revenues in the future, what are the strategies to overcome that, what about the parent company support, right? Likewise, various factors will have to be put it to and justify to the auditor. No, look here, auditor, yes, of course, we have a problem. But even though we have a problem, we have another way out as well. So this is the way out. So therefore, we are confident. In company can continue for more than 12 months. So that is called management assessment of the going concern. So now, when management assessment also has given, right? When the management assessment has given, right? We have to make a conclusion, right? So this scenario is coming. We have identified there are going concern issues in the company, right? That based on that going concern issue, initial assessment, we believe that the company cannot continue for more than 12 months. And management say, no, we are in the going concern, right? In such cases, how auditor is going to conclude? And there will be another scenario where management prepare the financial statement on the basis that the company is not a going concern itself, that I will address separately, right? Okay, now first scenario is if the management does prepare the finance statement on a going concern basis, right, there are four circumstances. Going concern assumption appropriate but material uncertainty which is adequately disclosed. Going concern assumption is appropriate, but there are material uncertainty, but those are also properly being disclosed, but still the going concern problem is there. Going concern problem is there. We have identified the problem, but management is confident that they can overcome based on the mitigating factors that they are proposing, right? But still then we are also happy that, okay, look here, management is telling so many things that we are also sure about the company will continue, but there is a problem. That problem must be told to the shareholders. So therefore, in such circumstances, if that problem also properly disclosed in the finance statement, auditor has an option to not to modify the audit report, but they add an additional paragraph headed as a material uncertainty related to going concern. Earlier, this was called as the emphasis of matter, but the new standard is talking about material uncertainty related to going concern, right? The second scenario says the going concern assumption appropriate, but material uncertainty which is not adequately disclosed. Okay, going concern assumption is good, but the uncertainty which is not properly disclosed, of course, non-disclosure becomes what? Non-disclosure becomes a misstatement. If it is material qualified, material and pervasive, of course, you know that is an adverse opinion. Then third circumstances you come, the going concern assumption is inappropriate. So you come to a conclusion that the going concern assumption is not appropriate at all. Management says the company can continue for more than 12 months. We as auditor says that no, that cannot be done. So now clear dispute is coming. In that case, if the management does not agree to our view, so it will become an adverse opinion. Then there is another circumstances where I told you at the beginning, when the going concern issue is not at, generally management has to carry out the initial assessment, right? Based on that, auditor will request the detailed assessment like forecasted financial statement. And they have to prepare that management assessment minimum 12 or more, 12 months or more. So that means 365 days or more. So generally in practice, we call for 5 years, 3 years, but standard says 12 months, 12 months or more. So, but let's say management has done this one, right, for only for 6 months, right? Then as per the standard, it is wrong. So what we tell, and okay, look here, it is wrong. So therefore, you have to extend assessment for more than 12 months. Management say, no, we can't. So if you can't do, if the management is not willing to extend the assessment, it will become a qualified or a disclaimer because of it is becoming a scope limitation, right? So this understanding is really required for you for the examination, not theoretical way, but understanding in a practical way. For the given scenario, you will have to apply this scenario. And also say if the management has prepared the finance statement not a going concern basis, they say the second scenario, the management has prepared the finance statement on a not a going concern basis, we call liquidity basis. So in that situation, nothing wrong in the finance statement. As per case 1, they have prepared the finance statement in a not a going concern basis. We are also accepting that. If we are also accepting that, but still we believe that it has to be brought to the attention of shareholders. In that situation, we bring an emphasis of matter paragraph. Right. So I hope that the going concern, you have a good understanding and excluding this particular area, right? And so if you have any question also, you can ask. And then disclaimer of opinion, I told you why I'm targeting for the exam, because very rare circumstances, right? So if the intimations are not properly given, if it is a scope limitation and material and pervasive, it's a disclaimer of opinion given. And the same circumstances, one more special circumstances, if there is a multiple uncertainties that it talks about, multiple uncertainty situation, there are so many uncertainties, you can't form an opinion, you can't come to a conclusion. In that case also, you come to the disclaimer of opinion. The last point, if you can remember the other information. So in the annual reports, when you look at the annual report, contain a lot of other information, and what the duty of the auditor with regard to the other information. With regard to the other information, what is my duty? Only just to read and see whether any material inconsistency. That means, as per the financial statement and other information like chairman's report, corporate governance report, whether they are any mismatch of the information. That is only our duty of the other information. That must be remembered. So if there is such an error in the other information, how are we going to conclude? So if there is a error in the other information, right? If there is error in the other information, you have to see that actually that error related to the other information, or actually it is connected to the financial statement. If it is a financial statement, normal reporting channel will be applicable. If it is other information, you want to go and request from the management. Even at the examination, you cannot write the final answer. Huh? So in auditors are coming to a conclusion on a step by step. Right, step by step. So we call step by steps only it has to coming in. So therefore, you are not immediately going to qualify the audit report. but you go and tell to the management, look, hey, management, there is an error, please correct that. If they say can't only, you have to evaluate then the materiality, and accordingly you have to report under the other information paragraph in the audit report. Right, those are the my examinable area by looking at the pre-scene of Surya, but Surya is not much connected to audit reporting. The examiner may touch upon giving some unseen information to cover up this particular knowledge of the examinable areas. And remember that going concern and key audit matters highly examinable in terms of that, right? So I'll allow you to ask any questions if you have from the audit reporting before I move to the next area. The next area is from the audit quality management. No problem. So no question, right? So I hope that those who are joined here maybe probably going to do the exam in the next October, or maybe you may be planning to do the exams in later. I don't know those what's your background of getting ready for the PPM. But whatever your background, so keep note that it's all about how advanced auditing principles in the theory are going to be applied as a partner. So this is the expectation of a PPM. Why CA Sri Lanka introduced the PPM is to ensure that high quality intakes, right? High quality intakes for the practicing, because practicing is much challenging but much independent. So because I've been experiencing the practicing for some time now, challenging, but it's all purely independently we can carry out our service. Uh, but still is not easy, because with the requirement of the global challenges that are coming in, and also the requirement of our local clients, we are catering to the global requirement into the local clients. So you have to balance it. And also then the regulatory requirements coming in Sri Lanka with the SEC and all that, Colombo Stock Exchange. So also the lot of frauds that are taking place in the with the economic crisis. So there are various challenges that are for members who are in the practice. But if you have a passion to practice, so those will not become an issue. Right. So then let me to go to the next area. Right. As far as this audit quality management is concerned, as I told you at the beginning, SLS QM 1 and 2 were introduced in 2023. So basically, earlier we were talking about audit quality controls. Now we are talking about the quality management. So you need to have a very comprehensive knowledge, right? It's not a just one by one, but you need to have a very comprehensive knowledge of all 8 areas, right? It's very much important. So if you don't have a comprehensive knowledge of these all 8 areas, you will not be able to score the examination marks that is going to come here for 10 marks, right? Because all purely a scenario is given in audit firm, mid-size or a small audit firm scenario. So you should be able to apply these principles, into the practical scenario. So I'll take example of our firm for you to give you some understanding about this quality management standards. Say in 2023, when the CA Sri Lanka announced that the quality managements are going to be applied in Sri Lanka, Basically, 2022, it was applicable in globally. And in our firm, we are connected to the global network. So our global network also came up and we want to apply by 2024. So then we were studying the quality management requirement as well as ISQM 1 and 2, gone through in detail and how practically we can connect these 8 principles into the firm. So a lot of researches, a lot of discussion we had to be done because it's a new requirement. Earlier, we didn't have this kind of a larger requirement, but there are a lot of larger. If you look at in outset, you won't feel that. But in examiner expect at the PPM module for you to have that in-depth knowledge, right? So therefore, I'm requesting every one of you to have a very comprehensive knowledge about these 8 areas. And this is not easy to apply in a middle level or a lower level audit firm because a lot of investments are required, a lot of mind changes are required, and a lot of additional efforts are required, and a lot of system changes are taking place. A lot of challenges are there attached with this change, right? So there, if I summarize these all 8 areas through my experience. So audit quality, the quality when you are talking is matters, quality matters, right? So when you are going to buy a shirt, when you are going to buy anything else or a watch or anything, even you are selecting the country president, you are looking at what? You are looking at quality. So similarly, the account auditing service also has been, and there is a real necessary to have a high level quality because we provide the service especially on a tri-party relationship. Our reports are going to be relied by the general public and make their investment and other related decisions. So we as a practicing chartered accountants, we have a wider responsibility to give a much better results to the stakeholders. For that, we need to have an internal quality mechanism system, right? So in order to have that quality mechanism system, if you just say in a small audit firm, oh, okay, we have to do that work in a quality manner, it will not happen. Think practically. Think practically in the audit firm where you work. Sometimes it's a quality file. So you have to do the quality. You got to ensure the quality and quality workings are required. Will you do? No. Unless otherwise a system is inbuilt. Unless otherwise a system is inbuilt in the firm, this quality management will not take place. That is why, right? That is why this particular new requirement came, audit quality management, where it talks about the 8 principles: firm risk assessment process, governance and leadership, relevant ethical requirements, acceptance and continuance of client relationship, engagement performance, resources, information and communication, and monitoring and remediation process. Out of that, I would say this is a complete new, right? It's a complete new thing. And also the, if you see resources, so now we are resources, we are dividing like human resources and also like intellectual resources and information technology resources. We are dividing into 3. Earlier we were talking about only human resource. Now audit firms are not only depending on the human resource, but we are also depending on the intellectual property. Say every audit firm has their own auditing methodologies that they have developed. There are a lot of knowledge pooled in the audit firm, right? So therefore, there are a lot of resources. The resources, as far as the audit firms are concerned, resources are becoming a part and parcel of the quality management. And also the monitoring and remediation process is very much crucial. If something goes wrong, it has to be monitored properly, right? It has to be monitored properly, and there should be a proper remediation process. And those 3 are newly introduced to the audit firm system and very challenging. Now, for an example, when you are selecting, say, I have a 300 client, so I will not be able to apply the same way of quality for all 300. I have to make a firm risk assessment process and what clients or which clients are needed the attention of quality, and what the stakeholders a kind of a risk assessment process. What are the firm quality risk and those risk assessment process? Don't get misunderstand. This particular risk assessment is different from the risk assessment that we do at the audit. So this is a internal risk assessment inside the audit firm, right? So therefore, firm risk assessment process is crucial. Resources must be properly organized. There should be governance and leadership like from the managing partner, and relevant ethical requirements should be there, and acceptance and the continuance of client. Whoever clients coming into the audit firms are not going to be accepted. Say tomorrow, so some collapse company, say some I would say Zelinco group earlier, if somebody comes as it is, you are not going to take it out, take it to the audit firm. Say companies like perpetual treasuries, so those already reported as some issues. So if they coming in, are you going to take in? So you have to have evaluation process whether you can deliver high quality product to the stakeholders. So therefore, acceptance and continuation you have to see properly, and also engagement performance. So there should be a proper supervision, right? So first of all, there should be a proper direction, proper supervision, and the review. There are three things we are talking about: direction, supervision, and review. And every audit firm is there. So if you would have experience, so generally partner will have a meeting, kickoff meeting with you, and they will partner will guide you, direct you what to be done. And there will be a supervisor or a manager or supervisor level person to supervise the work that you do as a senior associate. And also there will be a reviewing person. If a junior does something, there will be a senior person to review that work. So these three are part of quality management. So you may be wondering that audit firm, why this process is there? Because of the quality management, right? And also the final information and communication. So there should be a proper way of the flow in the information, and also monitoring and remediation process. Action must be taken. Post issuance review should be carried out, right? So these 8 segments, you need to have a very clear, a proper understanding. So now I come to the you are free scene, but I told you the audit reporting, no much connection with the free scene. But if you're coming into here, only one paragraph is there. We'll just quickly read that. Only this paragraph, right? So you have to have that imaginary world. Imaginary thinking has to coming into your mind. Okay, I'm working in as this kind of a firm. What quality risk will be there? We'll quickly read it. This is important for ethics as well. So DNB Associate is a medium-sized firm of chartered accountants with an affiliation to an international network firm. There is affiliation, maybe a corresponding firm. The firm consists of 5 partners who provide audit and assurance, tax and advisory services, who provide audit, assurance, tax and advisory services of client. Out of 5, 3 partners are dedicated to the both audit and non-audit services, including tax and advisory. Out of the other 2 partners, one partner is fully dedicated for tax services, and other partner for advisory services. And the current managing partner is a one Manam Peruma, and he leads audit and insurance as well as advisory. In addition to his responsibilities for financial audits of the the management partner handles 25% of the firm's audit engagement. The leader also has a 25% of audit. Now the problem is, who is going to review his work? There's another managing partner. No, now there's an issue here. It has become a challenge to retain and recruit appropriate staff due to the current economic conditions in the country. So DNB currently introduced an ethical helpline for partners and staff to report any concern on ethics, as the firm is adhering to the code of ethics that is applied across all member firms. Accordingly, professional values should be upheld and a speak up culture is encouraged. A senior partner was appointed as the ethics leader of the firm. Recently, he conducted an awareness program of the expected ethical behavior and emphasized that the ethical behavior should not be compromised under any circumstances. Right? Actually, these 2 paragraphs have been given. This paragraph number 1, only this is available, nothing else. This paragraph has been given for the quality management. These have been given for the ethics. So now your talent should be, by reading this particular paragraph, how you can apply into the 8 principles that we learned here, right? 8 principles. The firm risk assessment process, middle tier firm, what are the challenges? Governance and leadership, there is an issue in the scenario. Relevant ethical requirements, also there is an issue. And acceptance and continuation, no much information. Engagement, performance, staff problems they are talking about, resources, staff problem, and monitoring and remediation process they are not talking about. So I won't have time in going in detail, but what I request you is on this paragraph, right? If you can read this paragraph again and try to imaginary way to take into your system, you are a partner of an DNB associate having only 5 partners, 3 are audit and tax, and 1 for advisory and 1 for fully for the taxation services, and managing partner is having a 25% of the firm engagement. So you apply that scenario into your system, into your brain, into your case, and getting into your system and go for the examination. But similar kind of a extended version of extended information would be given. So if you can write a small kind of a short note. So looking at this paragraph, if you can link one by one, what is the scenario given here? So if the examiner giving you a complete different scenario, what examiner can test is, this is what examiner can test. Examiner can test is, there is a small scenario given, right? this scenario, what you want to do? Evaluate the system of quality control. Actually, should be quality management of D&B. So that means scenario is given. So you have to have the remembering of practical application of these 8 elements and how you can comment under the each and every element. That's it. That's it. For the exam for 10 marks. So if you can practice based on the same principles in the April paper, the same kind of a question is going to come for the definitely for the October exam as well, right? And so I'll go to the next one. Do you have any questions from the quality management? Of course, you are aware, right? I will not be able to, if I can explain you the quality management standard for 2 hours, only quality management, but we don't have much timing. I'm just quickly the touching some important salient point before the examination that you want to aware. Any question? No questions. Right. Okay. Let's go into the other 2 areas as well. Right. So basically, the next one is from the assurance engagement, which is again from the Surya PLC pre-scene. There are no the information given here with regard to the other assurance services except one, that is internal audit function. Internal audit function of the Surya PLC is they have a internal audit divisions inside the company level, but for a certain case, we are required the company uses the services of a professional accountancy firm to carry out the internal audits and review of the company and the group. So certain other services may be provided by the firm, but there are no much information in the pre-scene. Of course, so in the unseen, if there is an examination question, the examiner has to give the information in the unseen with regard to the other professional services. But in the April paper also, it does not has gone into a very in detail application because it's much not easy for you to write if there is an exam question in detail. But of course, you have to have a basic knowledge with regard to the particular theory side of an assurance engagement and the related services. I'm not going to explain in one by one the services, and I would say like each and every services you need to have a summary, say audits, review engagement, and assurance engagement, and agreed upon procedure like letter services. So basically, if you quickly have a look on the theory, the engagement we basically divide into assurance and then unassurance engagement. Assurance, we have a historical financial information and other information. Historical financial information, it can be the positive assurance, it can be audit. If it is a negative assurance, it can be a review. And the review, you have two things: Sri Lanka Standard on Review Engagement, 2,400 review of the historical financial information, and also have a Sri Lanka Standard on Review Engagement, 2,410, which talks about the interim finance statement review. For an example, say John Keells Holding PLC, they have to upload the interim finance statement for the CSE. So that interim finance statement review part, we can't do audit. So we do carry out a review part is done by the audit firm, but that can be provided only by the existing auditor, and it is provided under here. And basically under the review engagement, so you are aware that we are mainly focusing on, so mainly two things. So it's all about the analytical review procedures and the inquiry. So these two are only we are looking at from the limited assurance engagement perspective. And when it comes to other things, right, other information we apply basically Sri Lanka Standard done assurance engagement starting from 3,000 until 3,420. You have many standard, and here we are positive or the negative assurances can be given, but it's basically based on the other information, not the financial information. So one of the hot topic, even though it is not there in the Surya PLC, one of the hot topic is the sustainability reporting, right? Even IFRS S1 and S2 has come. So sustainability reporting, under the sustainability reporting, so whether sustainability reporting is done by the management in the annual report, so audit firm is required to give a kind of an assurance on the sustainable reporting information. So in that case, so you have to apply the Sri Lanka Standard on Assurance Engagements standard to give you the the level of assurance, but mostly we give a negative level of assurance, right? So one of the key one here we are talking is something called PFI, prospective financial information. It's about the future financial statement. Now some companies they have to prepare the finance statement for the future, maybe for a bank loan purpose or maybe some other purposes. They prepare the future finance statement, budget finance statement. So if it is a budget finance statement, that is to be reviewed by the by an audit firm. The standard that has to be applied is a prospective financial information. In general, it is a negative assurance is given because you are aware for a futuristic finance statement, you can't give a positive assurance. So that is an examinable topic and I want you to relook at, but there are no information from the pre-scene. So basically from the PFI. So you have to look at that and what is the ground of the PFI, scope of work, engagement terms of acceptance, and also the procedures that we are performing and the reporting format and what kind of things are we are reporting, and if there is a special circumstances there. Actually, it says that in one occasion the standard says if assumption, right? Because all PFIs are based on assumption. If assumptions are not realistic, and if the engagement practicing chartered accountant is unable to get the satisfaction, right, with regard to the reasonableness of the assumption, so then either you have to give a disclaimer of opinion or withdraw from the engagement, the special circumstances, because there's a huge risk. You are going to give an opinion for the future. So huge risk. Right. So there's another part of the story is an unassurance engagement where you don't give a assurance, you don't have a tripartite relationship where agreed upon procedures and the compilation. Applicable standard on Sri Lanka standard on related services 4000 and 4410. So basically in terms of 4000 4400 no sorry 4400 it says that agreed upon procedures, right? It's the now in my experience in the audit firm, I have done mainly these two, audit and agreed upon. Why? The lot of cases where the managements are requesting, it may be internal audit service, maybe a tax computation, it may be a fixed verification, it may be a stock count, right? Sometimes maybe a payroll verification. There are various things, are fraud investigation, various things are requested by the client organizations. So most of those things are, coming under the purview of agreed upon procedures. If we provide a service what management request and we are not in a position to give an opinion, probably we have to go to the agreed upon procedures engagement where you tell what to be done, we tell and we report, right? We do it and we report it. That's it. There is no tripartite relationship. And compilation is like compiling the financial statement. It's a very specific application where the informations are given. So you generally compile the finance statement. That also very rarely applied. Right. So as far as your examination is concerned, so I predict these things. Accepting assurance and non-assurance engagement when the scenario is given. So what kind of service should be provided? Not yet tested in the April exam. So what kind of a service should be provided? What kind of a type of service should be provided? Also whether you should take it or not. There are certain cases. So they have prepared the finance statement for 10 years in future and asking an opinion. Certain cases we should not accept at all. Examiner can go into that. And scope and review engagement, I told you that. And PFI, I told you. And reporting under the agreed upon engagement, it's what reporting format is, what we do. They say fraud investigation, what we identified, we report it. That's it. So what is the scope of work, what we agreed? We just report under each and every scope item. And providing internal audit service, I told you that in the pre-scene also they are talking about providing internal audit services. So therefore there is a possibility that is being requested to be written at the examination with some unseen information. Right, we are coming to the last area of the part B and C section of the which I intend of discussing today, the Code of Ethics. So basically, the Code of Ethics 2023, the booklet has coming in. I hope that you have already taken this booklet and you can take to the examination hall, but usage will be very minimal. Basically, 2020 to 23, I told you at the beginning, there are no much changes. But as far as the examination is concerned, you are allowed to take the study text as well. What kind of a scenario can be tested? But generally, out of these 4 areas, right, I would say this is the easiest one, and many of the candidates will score because you have been learning from code of ethics from the beginning, from your business level, corporate level, strategic level, and even after you become member, you apply this code of ethics principle to a certain extent, right? A certain ethical principle to a certain extent. And also more than that, being a member of the institute, you have a gut feeling with regard to the better application of the ethics. So therefore, that gut feeling and that common sense of the ethics and what should be done or what is most appropriate for the given scenario will help you to identify the correct answer. So therefore, generally it's not a difficult, but what I request all of you is, so if you have, you can highly score for this particular area. But what I request is in the study text part 2, sorry, right? This is the study text part 2, if I'm not mistaken. Volume 2, right? In this volume 2, there are 2 chapters, right? Chapter 19 and 20. It's not a very big number of pages. So this is chapter 19 and 20, ethical behavior and the ethics and practice management for accountants. So these 2 chapters you should read and go for before the exam, and you can take the study text also to the examination hall. So because of course, I told you that you can identify the answer, but remember, sometimes it is connected with the theoretical like ethical framework, like Turker's 5-step model or ethical dilemma resolution techniques, or it may be a triple A model. So that kind of a theories are there. And sometime corporate code of ethics also we are talking. So it's better always to read these 2 chapters before the examination. I'm sure that, so if you properly read this and go for the exam, you can at least 8 marks can be easily scored out of the 10. So it can be. So therefore, my request is for this one, please read these 2 chapters before the examination. And as far as in my predictions are concerned, so the prediction for the pre-scene, they are not talking of many information except this paragraph. They are not giving them any information. So this paragraph, they are talking about ethical helpline for partners, and also ethical leader of the firm is already there. So based on that, they will give some unseen information, so which will impact to the auditor's independency, right? And also it can be a conflict of interest, or it can be right, or it can be similar kind of a Noclar issue, or kind of a similar theoretical things that you are learning in the study text. So therefore, question is going to be easy, question is going to be understandable, but provided you have some theoretical background and produce a high quality answer with a proper judgment. So that is what you need to have it. Right, resolving an ethical dilemma. So you are aware that ethical dilemma is ethical issue. So that ethical dilemma, if you want to resolve, there are some frameworks to be applied. So this booklet can be applied, or sometimes international acceptable frameworks are there, triple S, American accounting, that model, and also then Stucker's 5-step model kind of. There are models in the study text given, so that you have to have an understanding, right? Examiner may expect for you to connect and write it. If you look at the April paper, so it has happened. So read the question. Advise the audit partner the approach you should allow when dealing with this ethical dilemma with reference to the applicable ethical frameworks, right? And also independent issues. You are aware that as a chartered accountant, we face a different kind of a threats: self-interest threat, self-review threat, familiarity threat, intimidation threat, advocacy threat, right? And also we have 5 fundamental principles in maintaining, refreshing your knowledge. So integrity, you have to have a objectivity, you have a professional competence and due care, you have a confidentiality, you have to have a professional behavior, you have to have. So having said these fundamental principles and the threats, you should be able to produce a quality answer for the given scenario. So, but here under the code of ethics lesson, I'm much more focusing or much concerned about your uh, writing skills. The next one is a Noclar. Of course, very common topic, hot topic now. A very hot topic nowadays, Noclar. Non-compliance with laws and regulation. So when you are working as a chartered accountant in business or a practice, irrespective of, you may be a CFO, you may be a partner of an audit firm. So still in the company that you are working or the company that you are carrying out audit, you will notice some serious non-compliance, maybe money laundering issues, or it may be terrorist finance activities, or it may be violation of fundamental human rights. So there can be a lot of laws and regulation which are violated. In that violation, what is the job role of you as a chartered accountant is discussed under the Noclar. So therefore, I request you to have a look on the Noclar. So Noclar basically providing you a few steps how to resolve that kind of issue. Say, if I, in the audit firm, in a company that I carry out audit, I notice a money laundering issue. How can I sort it out is given in the Noclar. And if you as a CFO, if you notice a non-compliance, how you should report. So you can't just go and complain to the CID. There is a process given in the booklet, in the Code of Ethics booklet. It says that you have to go for your immediate superior accountant. Say you are a CFO, maybe finance director will be there. So likewise, those charged with governance and then your document. There is a process given in the Code of Ethics booklet. That process you have to have an idea, not to memorize, but you have to have idea if the examiner asks for you to link into that. And the providing other services, of course, I told you there are various services, maybe like for an example, for a PLCs. So PLCs, you cannot provide the payroll services, you cannot provide the bookkeeping services. Sometimes if it is material, internal services cannot be provided, say it's impact. And there are certain services are prohibited, I would say, are not allowed to be provided for a PLC. Now, in the pre-scene that is given in your exam, Surya PLC is also PLC, public company. So therefore, you cannot provide easily the other services. If it is a private limited, yes, you can provide. But if it is a PLC, you will not be able to provide it as you expect. So that is what the self-preview threat will come. Say if you are preparing the accounts for your company and you are auditing, so of course you are getting with the self-preview threat. So it's impact to the objectivity of the accountants or a chartered accountant. Right. Okay. So now those are the four quick refresh connecting to the pre-scene. So what I wanted to do today. So what I did was now these four segments of audit reporting, assurance, quality management, and the code of ethics. These four areas in the part D and E of your the syllabus content. I try to give you a quick refresh link into the pre-scene. I hope that you got some continuous, say you got some idea on what to focus before the exam. Right. So, and one last point is that key concern from the examination division. Actually, this was shared by the examination division and from the examination division to the education division to me, and which is to be communicated to you all. What are the weaknesses of students? Sorry, not students, members. Sorry for the mistakes. Members who faced the exam in April and pass rate was very low because of what? Right? I have already told that, but I will again tell you that. Emphasis on action verb. At the beginning, I told you very clearly, when you read any examination question, first of all, you have to see what is the action verb, right? What is the action verb? What is the number of marks allocated? This is very much crucial. Advise, analyze, state, list, all these action verbs are, you have to write the answers to the action verb. Action verb can be justified or what quantity to be written in the exam paper can be decided based on the number of marks, based on the number of marks given by the examiner. Because you need to understand, even though you are knowledgeable, you are going to face to the examination. So your knowledge can be tested only way of examination. What you know is not a matter for the examiner. The examiner needs the information requested by him. So therefore, don't write what you know. Write only the relevant information to the question, to the relevant quantity within the given limited time. So that is the biggest mistake that the examination division has noticed and which expected me to communicate to you all. For an example, advise, evaluate, recommend this action verb meaning. If you go to the study text also, this is very clearly given. If you go to the Sri Lanka website, you can find out the real meaning of this. So this is very much important. and scenario-based responses. This I also noticed was some of the members, right? Scenario-based responses. Instead of scenario-based response, just give a general answer. No marks will be given. Surya PLC, if there is a specific ethical issue is given, your answer should be produced to the ethical issue given in Surya PLC, not for the ethical issue, that similar issue that you have noticed in your company. So scenario-based responses is needed. General answers, common sense answers will not get marks for you. Please understand that if you read this one, it says that they encourage students to ground their answers into the specific scenarios provided in the exam questions. They should avoid giving general answers and instead focus on how the scenario shapes their responses. Very crucial, and a lot of our candidates make that mistake. And the recent changes in the auditing standard, and some of you are writing all standard, but of course I told you the recent changes, so I hope that none of you will make a mistake of the recent changes. And updated list of standard and other pronouncements. So this also I told you that updated list of standard, what are the changes recently happened? I told you, so therefore I don't think I will have to repeat that, and these changes must be aware. Right, so then we coming into the recent changes that I did. Okay, exactly on time, 8 o'clock. So over to you for if you have any question. But before that, I have to give you one important point before the exam. So what I request every one of you, so if you want to test yourself, whether you are ready for the required knowledge, because you need to understand the examiner will prepare the exam paper based on the learning outcome. So you can go do a small self-evaluation yourself, and you go to this study text, right? This is volume 2, say in volume 2 even you have a kind of a learning outcomes given under the each and every chapter. Say this one, now say this is in other way. I don't think I can change it. Yeah, this way you can see, right? So learning outcome, this under each and every chapter it is there, syllabus area, knowledge component, learning outcome. So you read this each and every part, right? You read this each and every part and just see whether you are aware. For example, advice on the process on dealings with the non-compliance with the laws and regulation identified in the performing professional services. This is the examiner. Examiner will set an exam question based on this learning outcome. See, you should be aware about the paper setting process of anywhere in the world. So always examiner test a question. That is test a question for the learning outcome. So the learning outcome, if you are confident of the learning outcome given here for each and every chapter, don't worry about anything else. You are ready for the examination. You can easily do. So I'm requesting all of you to refresh your knowledge by looking at the learning outcome. If you are weak on any learning outcome, you have another 1 more weeks to study that, have a look on that area and get a understanding over there, right? And if you have any questions, even technical questions, even later, even you can reach to me, right? But before that, whether you have any questions, over to you. So you can raise your hand and then we will allow you to, yes, we will allow you to talk, or you can type your questions. Certain things, certain technical answers I can give, but if there is an examination, administrative matters, I think Sri Lanka, Augusta also here, I think.
Sir, this one
Yes.
issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, then this one book published by my institute, Sri Lanka Framework for Audit Quality, 2020 edition. Then that one is relevant with quality management standard. What are the relationship there?
No. So if you go to the 2020 edition, it has a SLA's QC1. You go and see Sri Lanka standard on quality control one, right? After 2020, then 2022 or 2023 only that standard was replaced. Sri Lanka standard on quality management 1 and 2. So to 2020 edition that is not there. It is available separately in the Sri Lanka website, Sri Lanka standard on quality management 1 and 2. That is what you need to refer for the exam.
Yeah, okay, thank you, sir.
All right. But I'm not very sure because you are allowed to be under the open book references. It's given the 2020 edition because what happens is Sri Lanka has published the book in 2020, and after that updates are given in a separately in the website. So but in your open book reference materials, it is given only 2020 edition. But I'm not very sure about the with the quality management 1 and 2 is separately allowed to be taken to the examination hall, but you can double check with the education division. The Augusta, whether you are there. Oh, I think, yeah, you can send a mail to Augusta and get clarified later. Any other questions? So we have finished 2 hours in a continuous manner. And again, if you have any questions, always to get to refresh your theoretical knowledge, of course, you can look into the basic webinars done for the CL1 and which I have done. So you can get refresh your knowledge. But remember, from there to PPM module is a much advanced application. But I'm telling if you are not thorough with the basics, because I'm very much aware, because when it comes to the PPM module, so you don't have much resources or a much way of studying, because it's not a students are doing this one, because members are doing. No, you don't have a way of properly studying this other than the self-study in the study material. So that is why I'm telling. So you can look into that, right? Right. So any other questions? And also another thing I want to highlight is that the Sri Lanka inform that you all have some the gray area of what are the practical training requirement, right? Practical training requirement for the to practice the module or for a Viva. That the training division is going to have a separate session in a shortly of what are the requirement to for a training requirement for the PPM or a professional practice module to be completed, and that they want me to inform you all. So probably they will announce shortly the another session by the training division, and including the details of Viva, how it is going to be conducted and all. So you will have a much more information. As you are aware, this is the second batch after PPM was introduced from 2024 April. So still, if you have a gray area, you can reach to the education division, manager education, Ms. Augusta, or you have a training division also. You can refer into that if you have any clarification, right? So I hope that you don't have any more questions. And I must thank to the Sri Lanka of giving me this opportunity to share my knowledge, even very short period of time, 2 hours. I try to do my maximum. I have a lot to tell, but of course, limited time. And thank you for that opportunity, and thank you for joining everyone in the session as well. And hope and I wish you all the very best and good luck for your upcoming examination in next week. Thank you very much.